Well, another week's gone by that quickly. It's certainly been a difficult week for me because of the amount of work I've had to do this week. However, Thursday night this time is always a great time because I have some fantastic guests, and tonight is no exception. But usual stuff. Need to just run through a few things to do with Flux. So, as usual, just so you know, edition 12 of Flux Review magazine is out. A couple of hundred pages of amazing information and stuff, interviews with artists, etc. And you can get it from that website that's on your screen right now. So you'll be, well worth having a little look at that magazine. You can buy it at the moment, but in future, I believe it's going to be a hardback limited edition copies. So well worth the investment, and certainly something to keep. Quite superb. Flux exhibition. That's the one that we're all talking about at the moment. Marylebone, 17th, 20th of July. And it's in the place called the Bomb Factory, which looks like this. Really quite a remarkable venue, actually. Brilliant. There's no if you go to some exhibitions, there are lots of booths. This is not a booth exhibition, it's walls, and they are superbly curated and laid out by Lisa Gray, and certainly going to be one to watch. As you can see, this is the opening night. Generally, the PV, crazy night, and we do have Anaphylactin, and also Licorice Black is coming along as well. And then there's a performance by Scarlet Butterfly, which is something to look for. So my guest tonight, interesting one for sure, and different again to all the guests that I've had so far. I'm very lucky actually that all the guests I have had so far are so different. But my guest, London-based contemporary artist, was born in southern Indian city of Chennai. I hope I've said that right. On the shores of the Bay of Bengal, a vibrant city where centuries-old traditions live in delightful harmony with rapid modernization. She grew up surrounded by bright and jubilant sounds and colours that have consistently inspired her creative pursuits, and she loves learning new techniques, and trained in India as well as the UK at the Slade School of Art. Now, the interesting part is that she spent the past decade in corporate and investment banking in London. So now an artist, and we're going to get into exactly why she has changed her career effectively. But it's textured artwork, and it's really quite unusual. And I'm going to play the video that I've created to show you what her work is like, and then we will bring her in for a chat. Okay, let's bring our guest in. So there, well, I hope you like my choice of music. A little bit of funky Indian there on the go. I thought that might be quite appropriate for you and your work.
No, that was a lovely introduction, Gary. Thanks a lot.
Absolute pleasure. So this is interesting, and how I want to start is by asking: you've gone from investment banker to artist, So there's always the question why. Everybody's going to go, well, why has that happened? I know that you've started a family, so that's could have something to do with it as well. But and also what we kind of want to get into is your technique as well, because it's quite different to anybody else I've interviewed, and it's going to be some great work that will be sitting at Flux. So first question therefore is investment banker, artist, how did that come about?
I mean, it's just that I've professionally, trained for finance. I've done an MBA, and then I did my master's in finance from London Business School. So, that was like a natural progression into the finance world, into the
Mm,
banking world, so to speak. But what has been interesting is that I have always been pursuing art, like on the side. Actually, that used to be my go to kind of sort out all the frustrations, the disappointments, to basically to anything, everything, even for balance, like
hmm
that's my go to safe space. So I've
hmm
always done this, and I've also taken like lessons from quite a well known artist in Chennai. So when I was in my high school as well as in my undergrad, I took some training, but I haven't done like a BA or MA fine art. And then after I came to London, I must mention that I like won a few awards at London Business School, and I couldn't attend the sort of dinner or lunch or whatever the dean had like organized, because I was in India at the time, and I had made a painting and I had gifted it to the dean. So basically, what happened is I didn't expect it at all, like as a token of appreciation, and for me not being able to attend the event. I didn't expect it at all, but they got it very beautifully framed, and it was put up at one of the buildings at London Business School, and it's still there to this day.
Okay.
So that was, like such a massive boost, encouragement, that I kept pursuing it on the side. And then I took lessons from Slade School of Art. So because I was working full time, I would do these short courses, evening courses, or weekend courses. And I did drawing, I did painting, and then I did drawing again, and I did painting again. So all of this was part of the journey, and it kind of helped me fine tune my technique. And what has happened is, over a period of time, every time I went back to London Business School for any event, I would bump into the dean, the former dean, and then I would show all the paintings I've been doing up to date, and he would remember that first painting that I made, which hangs in the wall at LBS. So all of that kind of contributed to my journey. And also, I worked in Santander corporate and investment banking for 10 years, and I most of my art critiques are from there. Like, I have two of very close English friends of mine who used to critique my art, and they also played a major role in the way I've like come about this. And then over a period of time, I discovered that this is what gives me true joy. This is my passion. I mean, it's cliche. Towards the end, everybody says it's my passion. It's what gives
Yeah.
me joy. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, I have to piggyback off that narrative. And then what happened is, I had my son. He's 20 months, 21 months old now. And then I went on maternity leave. I joined back work. And then I figured that, I don't know, motherhood does something to a lot of women, like, these kind of bulb moments you have. So I thought maybe this is a good time to pause, take a rain check in terms of which direction I want to move forward in life. So here I am. But yeah, this is the journey. And it's the impressionist style as well, which kind of, I love the brush stroke, and I've been reflecting on how I can do it slightly differently. And then I just bumped into the idea of palette knife and thick paint, and then I was like, something clicked in me, and it was basically a mistake, and then it just came together as this technique. So I've been doing this technique for about three plus years now, 3 to 4 years. Like 2021, 22 is when I was kind of fine tuning the technique, and from 22 onwards are all the pieces that you're seeing actually.
So that's what you're basically saying here is that this is you do this with a palette knife. Is this acrylic? Is it oil? Which sort of paint medium are you
It's
using?
acrylic. And the volume is not the paint itself, it's basically paint mixed with medium. So there are different
Okay.
types of mediums. You have modeling paste, which gives a bit of it kind of tones down the colors, but it's what sculpture, people use for sculpturing, and sort of
Okay.
some of the other artists use for textures, but not like this kind of texture perhaps. And then you have something called gel mediums. So you have gloss gel, which is very shiny, and then you have matte gel. What you're seeing here is the gloss gel. I don't know if you can pick up a sheen. I mean, it's, for textured art, like photos are so is like such a nightmare to capture the sense of,
Yeah, indeed.
a lot of my collectors have messaged me after they've got the painting and they've touched it and felt it, and they said, "Oh my God, it looks so beautiful, so much more beautiful in person than in the pictures. I probably would have purchased it much earlier, had I seen it face to face." So that's the feedback I get. And also,
So
gold leaf is tricky as well to capture on the photo.
it is. So that's what I was about to ask. So that background is actually gold leaf, is it?
That is,
Yeah.
yeah, the 24 carat, because that's very fragile and I find it really hard to work with. Although I would love to do it because, just because it's 24 carat, but I haven't been able to manage that. It's very, very flimsy. I love the artificial gold leaf, which is actually it's a combination of zinc and copper. I think it has zinc in it.
Yeah, it's interesting. In the 80s, I had a workshop in a place called 401 and a half in the Wandsworth Road, and it was completely full of craft and artists, all those people. That's what it was. And one of the guys there was actually a picture framer, and he used to use a lot of gold leaf, and he used to lay the gold leaf on. It was like a almost like a white slip paste, so that
Mm,
that set almost like plaster of Paris to look at, but it wasn't. It was similar to that. That set, he put some coat on it, and then he was 24 karat gold leaf, and it just literally dropped in place, and
mm,
he would brush it and buff it over.
yeah.
Very difficult to work with. I can appreciate that. I can see that as well. We've had another artist on, Kerry Lynn, who also uses gold leaf as well, and yeah, it's interesting. And you're right, you really can't see it when it looks like this on the screen. What about the writing up in the top of this?
So that is interesting. This one is quite special because it's the first one which has a very classic poem etched on it, in my native language, which is Tamil. So it's called Tirukural. It could be difficult to pronounce, but yeah, Tirukural is the name of the. It's a collection of about 1,330 couplets, or each couplet is called a kural, and it basically deals with everyday virtues of an individual, and it's considered one of the greatest works ever written on ethics and morality. And it's
Wow.
known for its universality and non-denominational nature as well. And it's authored by poet Valluvar, and it dates back to sometime, uh, across 300 BCE to the 7th century CE. So it's really, really old. And I think, I believe Tamil is also one of the oldest surviving languages in the world, my native. So this one is special because this is the first of the 1,330 couplets. And what
Hmm.
it means is it basically talks about it's basically an obeisance to the ultimate cause of all beginnings. It's like uh, everything goes back into, like every small dot goes back into a larger kind of universe. It's the concept of that.
That's probably starting to get into a very deep direction, and so I'm going to jump on to the next picture, which also has words on it. But
No,
um,
I'm just going to explain the meaning of this though, because it's part of the same 1,330 couplets. This
okay.
is just number. That was the first one. This is the 129th one. Not that it
Hmm.
makes much of a difference, but what it means is it just explains that wounds caused by fire, sort of, they tend to heal over time. Whereas sometimes whatever we speak, if we speak harshly, the wounds caused by our words, they seldom heal. So I mean,
Right.
there's no literal translation, but effectively it translates into what I just explained.
Okay. That kind of, yeah, it kind of makes sense.
Mm.
But again, so uh, with this, we've got a few like this. So what, presumably it's the mountains that are actually inspiring you to come up with the ideas for these.
Mhm.
But I have also read on your website that you tend to you don't actually know where you're going when you first start. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that is. I mean, in the sense, I have a rough idea of what I want to do, and then I'm kind of, I, I'm sort of more intuitive with my process. So I just have
Right.
the rough sketch of, say, let's say this is Matterhorn, right? So I have a, like most of these places, I use images that I have taken of my own, and then I kind of abstract it. Like I tend to abstract the photos that I have, the images that I have, and then if it's Matterhorn, I know that that's the rough outline. um, but then I just like start with the first or the second and the third palette knife strokes, and that's all I know. Then it's all
Right.
about where it goes, how it goes, what colors I use. You know,
Yeah.
it's just intuitive, and I never really plan anything, and the things I've planned have been disasters. So I've just like
Hmm.
left it to my yeah, intuition. And the thing is, my husband keeps telling me, like, use these software tools, like plan in advance, and it'll be so beautiful, it'll be a masterpiece piece. And I've tried that, giving him benefit of doubt. I've tried it a couple of times, and it's ended in disaster for me. And then I'm like, yeah, I don't have this much of time at the moment. So maybe there is a valid point in learning those software tools. They could probably help with color selection and stuff, but yeah, this is my current process.
So you're this. I mean, here's another one. Exactly the same technique being used. Different sky this time. Obviously not the gold leaf, but you're some really different colours compared to what we've looked at so
Mhm.
far. So
Yeah.
again, so how do you? What determines the colour palette you're going to use for a particular image?
So it's just that also is kind of planned at a very high level. I just know it's going to be orange, for instance, blue, and like, lighter on the top and then darker beneath. And then what color palette I choose for that actually depends on the way I interpret the image I have. So I have some reference images for most of these paintings, and I just abstract it. It's not going to, make sense to the person who sees the artwork from sure that, because it's my that image. Um, so color palette is just my interpretation of the colors in the photo, in the image.
Right. That's. I mean, that's it is interesting. It's. It's. I suppose. I mean, have you used this? Have you used this in particular to sort of determine? Has it come from a photograph that you've used, or is this somewhere that you've been? Is that what we're talking about?
So I'll tell you a bit more about this. Of course, who's not drawn to Mount Everest, right? So I've been drawn to images of Mount Everest. And then I saw an image of Mount Annapurna being painted by an artist in this fiery way on the top. It's just the sun, the sunset or sunrise being reflected off, on the mountains. And I just loved it. And I thought, why not pull that and then juxtapose it into this, and then
Mm,
abstract the whole thing. So that's essentially what I ended up doing.
right.
Love this. It's beautiful, actually. This is a painting which has been recently purchased by a collector in the US through a Japanese website. So I've just like few weeks back I shipped it to Tokyo, and then now it's in the US. The website confirmed. And the couple of days before packing, I had this right beside my bed because it's one of my favorites. it just the energy in the color scheme, right, is just beautiful.
Mm, mm.
And I also had very good sleep those 2 nights I had it in my room. So I'm hoping it brings a lot of luck and peace and joy to the collector.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can, I can see why that would you'd want it to do that. That's for sure. Let's have a look, little bit of a move on. But again, very very colourful look to this. And I did. You were going through each of these beforehand, and you sort of noted what that was. So, what's the title of this one?
This one is Candy Floss Mountains. It's called Candy Floss
Can
Mountains.
Yeah. So again, is this just simply straight out of your head, or is it based on somewhere you've been?
So it is from the English countryside. Looks nothing like it. Sorry about that. But it's like one of the pictures I took of the rolling, the typical English countryside, the
Okay.
grasslands. And then I was kind of thinking, how do I make? I mean, of course, green is beautiful. I mean, no
Mm,
denying that, green against the backdrop of the sky. But that's classic, right? So I was just sitting with this and I was thinking, how do I make this interesting? the London, it was in London, and that particular day, it was a very sunny day in London, and the skies turned, the beautiful shade of pink, like
hmm.
orangish pink. So that's where I got the inspiration from for this one. So I said, okay, let's take pink, shades of pink, like orange, magenta, and a little bit of green to just, I mean, like yellow or mustard to kind of bring in the contrast.
Yeah, I think so. I think what I like in particular about it is that because of the technique you're using and the palette knife, etc., that you use, and the way that you've got the texture,
Mhm.
it really gives you a real feeling, a sort of flowing movement, actually, which I like. It's one of those images I think that could be interpreted in quite a few different ways,
Mm.
which is really really quite cool. Let's have a look. Similar feel, but you've used the gold leaf again in this one.
Yeah.
Um, and so, what's the title of this?
So this is called Golden Dawn, and this was born out of a mistake, honestly.
Oh,
So I was trying to basically, I was trying to do something else when I
hmm.
ended up coloring half of the canvas in gold. I mean, like putting, the gold leaf became half of the canvas, whereas I just meant it to be a few streaks here and there. That didn't go well, and I was like, okay, fine, let me just fill the whole thing up with gold leaf. I did that, and then I suddenly it occurred to me that I have not tried a seascape, because I've
Okay.
been predominantly preoccupied with, let's say, mountains and mountainy landscapes. So then I was like, okay, let's try a seascape, and then like so many photos, like back in India, I live 1.5 kilometers from the sea. So I grew up I moved to London when I was 28. um, 13, 14 years back. So
Oh,
basically, most of my life I've spent near the sea. And even in the UK, I love the sea here, but it's just the water is really cold. So I can only go take a dip during summer days. So I have plenty of pictures of seascape with me. So I just took one of them and thought about how would I interpret the the waves and the sand and the froth and the water. So that's what I've done here, and then it looks so beautiful. And I was like, oh, okay. From a mistake is born an idea, and then the execution went fine, and then it sort of gave rose to this one.
do you think? Yeah. So, do you think that that's um, often the case with a mistake? That in actual fact you got sometimes it's a happy accident.
Yes, I believe so. I mean, there are some mistakes that, you unknowingly come to realize that they need fixing. You can't get away with it. But then
No.
some of the mistakes are really happy accidents. And this one is surely, one of
Mm.
them. I typically, I mean, I'm not arrogant or something about it, but I typically don't tend to make too many mistakes because it's more intuitive, right? So I'm kind of just happy with where it's going, and if I'm not happy with where it's going, I change course
Mm.
and make sure that I become happy with where further I'm going, you know what I mean? And then
Yeah, yeah,
overall it falls in place. So I've
yeah.
never really had too many big blunders, but there have been small inconveniences. Like once I just some time to dry, right? Because it's really thick about where
Hmm.
I put it. Like nobody, sort of messes around with it in the first 48, 72 hours is when it can get damaged really. And then the
Mm.
outer layer kind of dries up and the inner ones are the ones that are a bit more vulnerable. But then by then if it's completely off, then it dries. Like in about 5 days or 6 days, it completely dries. But the first
Okay.
2, 3 days are quite crucial. So I've had a couple of instances where I put it on the table and then my husband goes and puts something on it without like realizing that it's there for drying. So then everything gets squished, and then uh, that's like a no go, and then I have to start from scratch again. So those kind of mistakes, but you learn from them, right? You don't put them where anyone else can have access to them. So I just put them away high up where no one can touch them.
It's just coming up saying that there's an issue with YouTube. So this will record and I will upload it afterwards. So it will be there. It's just there seems to be some issue with YouTube at the moment, so it's not connected to the account. But don't worry about that. I will. This is
No
being
worries.
recorded, so I will upload it when we're finished. So this one, Chamonix.
Mhm.
Yeah, Chamonix Mountains. Yeah, obviously, very good. So, what's your connection with Chamonix then?
So I've always wanted to hike in the Alps.
Hmm.
So I just have like and I'm quite fascinated with the Alps because it's across a few countries. It's not just like one mountain in one country, right? And I kind of and my husband's been wanting to go hiking there, and then it became part of my list as well. So we like I have had pictures of it, but I must say that this was born out of my kind of plan to go and visit Chamonix, which has not happened today. But this was another mistake,
Oh,
basically. I mean, not a mistake, but
I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So the gold leaf is fine, and then I started putting the Chamonix peak, the top, the mountain peak together, and then I started coming down, and then for some reason I had stopped just above the lake, if you can see. Like
Yeah.
I had just finished up till the lake, and I had not planned to have a lake there. It was meant to be rest of the mountain. And then suddenly, because I had stopped there, and this was a completely different day when I revisited this, I had this fascination of, okay, watercolor, like how would this teal color blue, this teal color look against the backdrop of this. So then I was frantically looking at an angle, different images from Google, looking at that angle for Chamonix, where this lake could sit at this kind of rough point. So then it came together, and then I had the steel color up there, and then I felt the steel is what actually makes this painting look beautiful. I mean, that's the artist's view, but of course, we need to get the viewer's view, as
Well, yeah. I mean, this is an interesting thing for me. I think that the often I see things. I'm going to swap you over this side because it's easier for you when I do this. That's
well.
better. I find that sometimes the artist's intention with their work is not how people see it, but I don't think there's a problem with that,
Mm,
because I think somebody will buy a painting because they love it, because not often because of what they see in the image, in the work. And I think that's definitely something to sort of, I don't know, it's definitely something to sort of go with, in my view anyway. And all right, you can explain your work, and people then suddenly get it,
Mm-hmm.
And it's a difficult one, is it? Do you explain it or not? Because sometimes someone goes, "Oh my God, that looks just like my blah 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 blah." You then don't want to go, "Well, actually, it's not that," because then you run the risk of not selling it. So,
No, totally. I mean, I get it, you know. So, one another. So it's a diptych, and it's going to be part of Flux, but it's just not there in the in what
mm,
you in the video that you just put up right now.
yeah,
And currently, it's in a coffee shop where some of my other paintings are. And I was just having a word with the coffee shop owner, and she was like, "This is beautiful. I love this." And she was just we got chatting, and then she was like, yeah, actually, it looks like dragon from this angle. And I was like, ooh, that's meant to be Lake District. And my should look like District. And I was like, do I actually tell her that is Lake District or not? And then she was like, but then she, you know, she's probably has some experience in art, because then she paused and she's like, Gaya, but what is your idea behind this painting? And then I was like, thank God,
yeah.
now I can explain. So she's like, yeah, that's beautiful. Actually, it does look like a mountainscape and a reflection, but you know, from this angle, it also looks like a dragon. I'm like, yeah, sure.
Exactly. So we've got another one, which is again mountains. Again, you definitely like a mountain, that's for sure. And also, now, interestingly, is the area of India that you come from, is that quite mountainous?
There are mountains, and I was an avid hiker before I came. I mean, I moved to the UK, and here I've been hiking as well. But you know, the mountains are quite. I mean, the weather's different for sure.
Mm, mm.
But like I've been 3 4 times up Ben Nevis. I've just not done the three. There's
The
three
Three
mountains.
Peaks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
the three
yeah,
peaks, because I had an injury when I was planning it. But I've done each of them separately: Scaffold Pike, Snowdown, and Ben Nevis many, like few times, 3 to 4 times.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just love it. I love hiking. I love mountains. And I think mountains kind of is a place where every time I go, I visit a mountain and I'm back, I feel invincible. So maybe that's why during tough times is like, okay, mountains, space, freedom, resilience, that kind of stuff, you know, just the sheer strength of them.
Right. So this one I've got up now is different because the texture is very different. You've got certainly the sky, different type of sky, but also the actual texture itself is. Let's just jump back. Is
Very,
different to this.
so yeah,
So
that's, sorry, go on.
so go on. So what determines that texture? What determines for you? Is it something you think, oh, I'll try a different technique and see if what difference that does, or is this, do you find, because I know every artist is probably similar to this as well, is that you find a new technique that you're using and suddenly it's the best thing you've ever done, and then and then you find another technique and that's the best thing you've ever done, and so on. So, is that was this a bit of experimentation? Is this a new direction? What would this be?
So, no, that's a very good point, and it's a brilliant observation as well. Um, so the thing is, this is a different medium. Um,
Right.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
so it's modeling paste, and I mean, so this is the first one I have done of this size with this medium. And the thing is, the first couple of years I was just experimenting with the gel mediums, which are more like plasticky. You know, it's not like sculptury, if that makes sense. Uh,
Yeah.
and the colors are more vibrant, they are a lot brighter with the gel mediums. So I kind of was quite fascinated by the way the modeling paste interacts with acrylic paints, and it kind of makes a pastel shade of most of them. It kind of sobers down the colors, so to speak. So I was quite drawn to what it does to the color scheme itself. So I was drawn to exploring how like a proper landscape would look like working with this medium. And it turned out that it's more 3D than the other ones, because it
Mm.
dries really thick. Um, and it's really, I'm sure this will also be at Flux. So I'm sure there'll be people who might be very tempted, like drawn to kind of feel the feel the 3D, because it's a
Yeah.
3D. It's very 3D actually.
And it goes, and presumably it sets quite hard, does it?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
You're talking about people touching it. It's the last thing you want if it still doesn't set really
Quite
nice and
hard.
hard. But
I would be less worried about the gel mediums, Gary. These ones I'm a bit like, but I think, I mean, sculptures are made of modeling paste, so I
yeah, of
guess that
course,
would be
yeah,
fine. But this
yeah,
just feels more fragile to me than those. The
yeah, 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 yeah,
plasticky packing, right? So it's very strong.
yeah.
Yeah.
And funny enough, another mountain. Different sky again here. So what have you done with that?
So that is a combination of silver flakes and blue glitter.
Ah,
So I have so the silver flakes I think is more the cloud, the cloud cover, and the
hmm,
blue glitter is to show actually like the the dark night. I mean, the rest of the painting doesn't look dark, but it's like, let's say, the moonlight reflecting off the different parts of
mm,
the
mm.
mountainscape. But it's not gold because it's not like a sunny sky. It's probably a darker sort of sky. That was the idea behind this.
I find it. It's so using the technique that you're using with the layered different colours and the texture that applies to it.
Mhm.
It's really quite impressive. I think that you get the depth in what you're actually trying to portray, because it would be quite easy just to see that as a complete pattern with no depth. But because particularly in these green areas here where you've actually um, used different shades of green, that pushes this section backwards.
Mm,
Similarly with this ridge that you've got here,
yeah,
it's quite, I know you sort of say, well, you start and you're not sure where you're heading when you first start, but it gradually comes together. I can see. However, what I will say is I feel anyway that it must be quite difficult to um, you've got to see this in your mind's eye to be able to actually put that together, because you need to know where the different shades of color is going to be.
mm,
And as you're applying them with a palette knife, you actually can't get it wrong, because if you get it wrong, the picture doesn't work.
no, yeah,
Yeah, it's quite, yeah. So one thing I would say to you at Flux is actually explain that to people, because
yeah,
the complexity actually is there's a lot of complexity in this.
yeah. And I mean, what I also haven't mentioned so far, Gary, is that I kind of, if I sit with a painting and try to do a 24-hour marathon, for instance, from start to end, it's a blunder. So I need to spend few hours, then take a break, like a break, not like 5 minute, 10 minute break, like a good maybe a few hours or even a day or two, and then I
Yeah,
revisit. Then it helps me refine and refine and refine, and that's how I complete. So I don't I've never done my paintings at one sitting because I've messed up such paintings and they are no longer, those
right,
are not the
right.
ones I can share actually
Mm,
publicly. So I think that helps as well. I start, then intuitively I know where it's going up to a point, and then I pause, I let my mind kind of, reset, and then I come back to the painting with a fresh mind, and then I see what I've done, and then again for the next maybe few hours or more, I know where I'm going with it.
right.
So I think there is definitely fatigue if I stick with it for a very long time, and
Hmm.
I get impatient as well. So the strokes are not as beautiful. Um, and also what I've haven't shared yet is also that I use different size palette knives. So if you see, the strokes will be different. Some will be longer and thicker, some will be shorter and kind of more sharper. So I use different palette knives and I vary the texture as well, so that the depth is kind of a bit more tangible and clear. So if I don't take the pause, I am really crap at it. I just lose my patience and I go, blah, 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 the same size, same depth. I'm like, oh. So yeah,
So so looking at this one that we've got on screen now,
yeah.
um, again, different shapes,
Mhm.
etc., but doesn't seem to follow the same. line that the others have, unless I don't know. Just you explain what exactly this one is.
So I was kind of testing my boundaries to see, okay, textured art, but is the palette knife way of, the petal way of doing it? Is that the only way to do textured art? And then I was like, again, an accident. I kind of, as I was going to layer the palette knife for the petal in one of the other paintings, my palette knife slipped from my hand and it fell on the floor. And then it went and hit thud with a blob. So then I picked it up and I'm like, oh, that looks like a weird circle. This is interesting pattern. And then I was like, how do I get this pattern? And then, you need to use thicker palette knives, and you have rounded palette knives as well. So
Yeah.
just the tip of that. Or you have these, the baking section has a variety of baking knives. So those are a bit like blunt on the end as well. You can use those. So the sharper ones have smaller, the dots, and the larger ones have the larger dots. So that's it. By pure accident, I discovered it, and I thought, okay, seaside, let's experiment. And then this was, I think this is probably the only piece I have which I have done in this, which is also the last large painting I did before I had my son. uh,
Okay. See, so the minute you said seaside, I get it now.
hmm.
Yeah, and
Oh
that's
yeah,
that's the
yeah, yeah,
point. Yeah,
yeah,
I
that's,
get it now.
yeah,
So that's the point I think I'm making, is that sometimes you look at a piece of work and you're trying to work out
what
what's
it is.
going on, what it is, and it just might need one little trigger word, and suddenly,
And
yep, okay, you've got it. Yeah, and it's now I can see it, and it's yeah, and I would say you see quite a lot of people that do seascapes, quite a lot of people who do sort of scenery around the coastline, etc. You very rarely see somebody that's done it quite in this way. So that you're to be commended for doing that. I think this is very interesting. Um, but again, it comes back to you being able to use the colours in the right way to create exactly what it is you're wanting to get across, which is, again, it's yeah, it is interesting. I think this when I do these interviews,
hmm
they never cease to amaze me what people do to create art, and quite frankly, I learn an awful lot by talking to people and asking them what they do and how they do it. And you'll see at Flux as well. The beauty of Flux is there's lots and lots of work. I mean, there's over 70 artists, so there's a lot of work. Everybody's got quite a decent size area for their work. So your work is not dotted around Flux; it's in your section of wall, if you
right,
like.
yeah,
And it means that you can stand there, you can talk to people, they can see everything that you do, they can
yeah.
ask questions like I have been asking tonight. But I do think that it, again, it's different. It's one of the other artists I've interviewed. She uses acrylic paint, but she pours it. So
Oh right, yeah, yeah, the poor one,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and she's very interested in how she does that. I learned a lot from talking to her, and again, one of the things I think with acrylic, and I accept the fact that you're mixing something else with it to give you the texture, but it does at least dry quite quickly. So it
hmm
does allow you, if this was oil, you'd be waiting a week before you
Oh
could
my
do the
God.
next
Yes.
section.
Okay, yeah, there's a reason why I chose acrylic, especially in this weather as well, right? The UK weather, like oil takes forever, and
Yeah,
you can't fix mistakes like, within seconds.
no,
Hmm.
it's
Like, I mean, before I had to send, like, I was just packing one of my shipments, and I noticed my son had done something like light mild black there, and I was like, oh my God, that sky is just messed up. So I had to patch it up, and then I had to like varnish it and like use my hair dryer, and it was done in like a couple of hours. Everything was back to, and I could like there was no delay in the shipping. So yeah, I
No, that's
just had to, like, I don't know what would have happened if it were oil and I had to fix it.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
actually
I
it
mean, it's
was
probably not the thing to broadcast to the world that your son's been drawing on your paintings. Oh
no, that was
dear.
only one, and my bad. So now everything.
So when I go through and pull a clip out to put onto Instagram, you know it's going to be this one, don't you?
Oh
uh,
yeah, I literally had a heart attack, and I probably have a few years of my life taken away because of that incident.
yeah, I mean it's I have not quite the same thing at all actually with my work because mine's printed on aluminium. If you drop it, you can't scratch the surface, but if you drop it, you can bend it. The edges of the pictures can be chipped, so you have to be very careful with it. And
Mhm.
sometimes, I've had one that's turned up, but the delivery company delivering it to the person who is receiving it have damaged it, and you have to get it all remade and done,
Oh God.
which is why I deliver my work. I always deliver it myself.
Yeah.
I don't want the risk
Good.
of somebody, else damaging it. And also, I like to talk to the person that's bought it to talk about where it's going to go, and
Right.
because the light in my work, light
It's,
needs to be on it.
it's everything. Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite important. I actually talk to them about where it's going to go. But
And also, if your work has, like, if you drop it and then there's a dent in the middle as well, that will be a problem as well, right? Because
yeah,
then
yeah,
the
yeah.
smoothness of the image kind
Mm,
of, there's like reflections coming off because of the dent.
mm,
So
yeah,
yeah,
it
so
is. It's
be careful.
and I mean, I don't print. I don't. My work's not printed on paper. I do paper versions,
Mm-hmm.
and they're for people who can't afford to buy my work, but they could afford to buy a print. Now, I say this quite often on these chats,
Mm-hmm.
that if you have got prints of your work,
Yeah.
um, let's take somebody who maybe sells their original picture for £10,000, let's
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Right. So straight away, the people that can buy it, it's limited because
Of
of
course.
how much.
Yeah.
However,
Mm-hmm.
if they could sell 50 prints of that work for £200, let's say,
Yeah.
then that's 50 people that have got that print on their wall, and that's 50 people who have people come to their house who see that picture, and suddenly
Yeah.
your work is being seen by a lot more people. Might not be the original, but then one person seeing that print might want an original. So it's kind of,
Yeah.
it's unfortunate. The thing with the art world is the PR side of it's quite difficult, and one of the reasons why I do this show is to help artists,
Yeah.
including me, help us all get a bit of decent PR.
Yeah.
And you can so when Flux comes, you will be able to turn around to people and say, sorry, I haven't had a chance to talk to you much, but there's an interview with me. You can find out all about my work, etc. There's a link to your, all your
Yeah.
website, and I will bring that up again. So it's your website, and that's also your handle for Instagram, which is well worth popping on and seeing. And while we're at it, you know what? Let's get a look. Why don't we do all the plugs in one go? So we got all of these, and then of course the main one flying along the bottom there is the Flux exhibition, of course. So look, it's I'm going to put one more up, which is you can follow us as well on Instagram, Flux Review, and my one is Art Imaginarium. So get all the plugs out the way in one hit. So what after Flux, which is next month?
Mhm.
What are your plans for any exhibitions the rest of the year?
So I have applied to the other art fair.
Hmm.
I also have like a profile on Sachi, and I've sold, I think, a few paintings to that. So I will know about that by when? By August, I think. Yeah, I think
Mhm.
they let you know by August, and it's in October. So that's the one I've planned for this year, and then I'm thinking I'm still kind of looped in with my kind of corporate network. So I'm
Right.
thinking maybe for, like one of the fintech network, investor dinners or something of that sort. I'm
Mm.
thinking if I could just do a solo, like, curate my own show and also be part of the event to explain. So that will take a bit more of my time and effort. So I'm thinking I can do just one in maybe Q3. So if I'm able to make the other art fair, last year I was waitlisted, and honestly I was in postpartum, so I'm like, I don't, you can't tell me a week before to say that, yeah, you're waitlisted, but can you please come and pop up your. Uh, I'm like, no, thank you, sorry. So I've applied again this year. Let's see what happens. And yeah, so I'm planning to do like a smaller solo show of my own artworks a bit later in the year, but within the network that I have. But of course,
See,
get better at marketing, Gary. I'm really bad at it.
well, you just slipped back into corporate mode there when you started talking about
No,
Q3.
no, see, that's the thing, right? That corporate thing is never gonna go, because
No, no, no,
with me,
no.
and it's also the same detail oriented approach that I draw
Mm,
from the finance world, which perhaps I've sat with this and thought about it for a very long time. I think that's what gives me the precision of the intuitive work. I would
mm,
say 90-95% of the time it's just one go. I don't
mm,
have any mishaps, but let's be humble and say 10% for margin of safety.
mm.
So I feel it's that that detail oriented thing that I have, mindset that I have, which is from the corporate world, which is
Yeah.
also serving me here in the.
Well, yeah, but when you talk about you're not marketing, and the trouble is that's where artists generally do fall down. Some artists, I mean, Cheryl Walsh, who I interviewed a while ago now, she's got it off to a T. She
Right.
does these amazing calendars and of her work, but tarot cards, which I actually ended up buying off her as well, while it's like madly.
Nice.
Um, but I've known her a long time.
Right.
But she's in America, but it's her thing,
Mm-hmm.
and she was a dental technician,
Oh,
but
wow.
discovered that one day while sitting on the bottom of her swimming pool when she
Mhm.
came home from work, she realized that she could photograph people at the other end of it floating in midair, and they looked like fairies and
Oh, wow.
mermaids, etc. So it if you are creative,
Mm.
it doesn't matter what your job is. If you've got a creative brain, then quite often that is why you might have been good at your job, because you can think a little bit differently to other people, and I think that's really quite important.
Yeah.
So we got about 5 minutes, 5 minutes left. So that hour went quite quickly, as I knew it would. Look, Flux. Um, the private view on the Thursday night is amazing. Generally, there are an awful lot of people that come, uh, and you will talk to a lot of people. My word of advice will be have a bottle of water handy,
Yeah.
because
Mm.
definitely it's quite important to keep yourself hydrated. But
Mm.
and it, of course, it's July, so it's not going to be cold. But it is a great event. There's music, there's live performance,
Mhm.
and then you've also got the two anaphylactic and licorice black drag artists walking around, who are fantastic fun. Actually, really great people, really good fun. But of course, the best bit of all. Um, is you've got all those other artists there to talk to. And
Mhm.
I think that's one of the things about this exhibition, is that you will be able to talk to all the other artists, gain a little bit of information, share a bit of information,
Yeah.
swap a few cards with people,
Yeah.
because that I found anyway that you do get a lot of people that will chat to you about your work. And I've ended up collaborating with a couple of artists
Right.
as well,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool because brings a different vibe to your own work actually to do
Yeah.
that.
No, that's exciting. So I'm quite open to it. But yeah, you need to hit meet the right person. It has to be the right time.
Oh, exactly. And it's the chances are, look, 70 artists there. The
Yeah,
chances are you've got a bit of a chance at least
yeah, a bit of a
of getting on with a few of them. So, and I've no idea whereabouts in the venue you'll be placed. Because that's
chance.
completely down to Lisa. She spends weeks and weeks mapping all the walls out and deciding where people are going to go. And to be honest,
Yeah.
sometimes we get there, all the work's up, and she'll go, no, I think this one needs to be moved, so and so. So
Oh boy.
she knows exactly
Yeah.
how it should look,
Yeah.
and therefore it works.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've been to exhibitions where you do have a little booth,
Mm-hmm.
and the problem with a booth is you're enclosed, and therefore people you've almost got to pull people in
Yeah.
um, to see your work, and it makes it's not anywhere near as nice and free when you've just got long walls of work, which
Yeah.
I think works so much better. Went to what was that one? Oh, Fresh at Alexander Palace,
Mm-hmm.
and they weren't booths. They were, a lot of them weren't
Yeah.
booths anyway. They were just walls, and it just works so much. It works so much better when it is.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, how I came across Flux is, Gary. Like I've worked with Adlib Gallery at Wimbledon, and
Okay.
I think Sam Peacock is
Oh, Sam, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I
I
think
interviewed him a few weeks ago, actually.
yeah. So his works I've seen at Adlib, and
Mm,
I was part of a Art Below show winter last year, and I'm just like trying to see if they can represent my artworks at some point. So I had a
mhm.
few of the artworks up there for a while, and I think I'm going back sometime in July, August. They have a tight schedule, so it is the gallery assistant who was attending last year's Flux exhibition. For I think Sam was there last year as well, or was it was an artist that Adlib knew as well, who was exhibiting at Flux.
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
Gallery assistant, sort of, his name is Mark. So Mark was there at the exhibition, and Mark was suggesting, consider this because it's a really good one.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's how I applied to Lisa, and I didn't hear back at all. So I was like, so I pinged her again after like maybe a month or so, and she's like, oh my god, Guy, I completely forgot about this. I'm so sorry. Yes, I would love to, have you
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah,
Are
yeah.
still available. So yeah,
Well, in fairness, she's very, very busy. So that the Flux magazine,
yeah.
she actually does the whole thing on her own.
Oh wow.
200 pages, and she does it. She does all that work on her own, with setting up Flux, with all the other things she's got going on as well. So
Mhm.
she's very, very busy.
I can imagine.
She's certainly not a person that sits on her backside doing nothing. That's for sure. So anyway, look, our time is up. So firstly, thank you so much for coming on. It's been absolutely brilliant. I've really learned a lot. I'm looking forward to seeing you at Flux, and
Mhm.
I'm sure everybody else with has will as well. So now I'm going to have. See, I never said it at the beginning, but I'm going to have another go. They told me this right at the beginning. So Gaya Chandrasekaran. No, see, I got it perfectly. So what is it?
Chandrasekaran.
Chandrasekaran.
That's right. Perfect. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, got it eventually. I looked at my notes right at the beginning. I thought, I'm not saying that. Yeah, this artist instead of your name. Yeah.
So,
Okay, that's brilliant. And thanks for coming. Don't rush away. We'll have a little chat afterwards. But
yeah. Thanks, Gary. Thanks for
okay,
having me on the show.
absolute pleasure. And I'll see you at Flux.
Thank you.
So there you go. That was an interesting one. Something that again, as I've said before, I've learned a lot. Now you will find you'll be watching this after the event because for some reason it hasn't gone live on YouTube, even though it's sitting on YouTube saying it's live. It's actually not there. So in a minute, I will be uploading this. You can watch it afterwards, and I'll have to put a note out to say what had happened. But don't ask me why. Everything is working according to what I've got here, but according to YouTube, there is a problem with it. So I will upload it shortly, and you'll be able to watch it. And please put some comments underneath because the chat obviously won't be working. But thanks very much, and I will see you all next week.